The Forest Safety Association of Newfoundland and Labrador has a motto that says, "Safety is good business, plain and simple." The goal of the association is to prevent injuries and accidents in the forest industry. Well, there's lots of heavy equipment used, and one piece of equipment might be small, but it can cause a lot of damage. I spoke with Dion Newman today, who's the executive director, about chainsaw safety. Here he is. Dion, we're standing here in the woods, chainsaw in your hand. This is certainly something that is a very familiar sight for a lot of people in this province, whether they work in the forestry industry or not. A lot of people use chainsaws. They're out around their cabin or they're cutting their own firewood. But Forestry Association, you're a little bit concerned about safety.
Yes, there's been a number of incidents over the last little while where people have been injured using chainsaws. Now, we do have a chainsaw safety awareness program that it was developed by the forest industry, but now it's being rolled out to the general public and businesses that do use chainsaws in their operations.
So what are some of the common mistakes or areas that are causing injuries to happen?
A lot of the injuries are caused by people not using their saw properly.
Okay.
Either they don't take the time to take that extra step when they're cutting off the top of their tree, or it could be probably their chain maintenance is another big issue. Not filing it properly, filing the rakers down, the guides that takes the sawdust out of the cut. For some reason, people file these down and they think because they're getting bigger sawdust chips is more efficient, but actually what they're doing is making their chainsaw more dangerous.
Really?
Yes.
And you have a guard on this saw. Now, this is certainly not something that you see on a regular basis. I've seen lots of chainsaws, somebody going off with just chainsaw in hand without a guard on it.
Yes, and that's one of the things. Like every time you touch a chain, whether it be for filing, just checking your tension or anything else, we recommend you wear gloves. Anytime you're not using your saw, you should have your guard on over the bar. You could happen just to slip and fall while you're having lunch and land on your saw, right? Right.
Dion, the chainsaw itself, they come in various sizes. I guess that has a lot to do with the power. Are there bigger or more concerns with a more powerful saw than with a small one?
Of course. Depends upon the size of the person and their strength. They would use a saw that's more suitable to fit them. You can get smaller saws down to 170s, and you can get, for the forest industry, professional loggers, they use saws up in 600, 700 cc's.
Wow. Obviously, you need a fair bit of strength to maneuver one of those.
Yes.
When it comes to using the saw, sideways, above the head, below, anything in particular with the positioning of the body to use the saw?
Well, the main thing is when you hold the saw, make sure you have a firm grip around the handle. Some people would hold the saw like this, but if the saw happens to kick back, then they lose the grip. So you have to make sure you have a firm hold on your saw, and never raise it above your shoulder height, because when you raise, of course, even a book, you can't hold it for any length of time. You start to lose the strength in your shoulders. And it's the same thing when you're using equipment like this.
So if you're trying to trim a tree in your backyard, for example, you got a couple of those branches that you want off. I mean, I've seen this. Bad news. Very bad news.
You're better off using, you can get these tree pruners, and they can get extension poles to go on them, and they can reach 30, 40 feet in the air. Very effective.
What about the maintenance of the chainsaw itself, Dion?
Well, the main thing with a chainsaw is to make sure that you keep your chain oiled, make sure that the ports are open so that the oil can go through, make sure they clean out their bar. When you take off your chain, make sure that there's no dirt down inside the groove. You can take a piece of wire or something and clean this out. Okay? Main thing is when you file, make sure that you file all your teeth evenly. Okay, make sure you use the guide when you file them. And this is what I was talking about earlier with the rakers. This little hook here. For some reason, people file this down, and that's a big no-no. There is a gauge that you can get where you can adjust these rakers to the size of the tooth as you're filing it down. So that way you keep it consistent and you don't reduce the integrity of your chain.
So if you take, why would people want to take those down? What would be the purpose of that?
For some people, some of the older guys that use chainsaw, that's just what they were taught. They were told that that just gets in the way. If you're taking out bigger chips of sawdust, you're more productive,
Right.
but actually you're actually making your equipment more defective.
Yeah, interesting. Now, we touched on, the fact that it shouldn't be above your shoulders. What about your physical body stance? You were talking about how you hang on to it, can't go above your shoulders. Does it matter where you are in relation to the saw?
Well, you have to make sure that you have a firm footing
Okay.
anytime you're using the saw, holding it firmly in both hands, okay? And try to be to the side of the saw instead of directly in front,
Right.
because if the saw kicks back, it will come back and it will hit the person.
And we've certainly seen several really bad, situations with accident.
Yes.
People losing, digits. I've heard of, cuts all over the body because the saw has jumped.
Yes. And like I said earlier, the biggest thing is what people sometimes don't take the time. They'll cut off a tree and they'll cut, say they're cutting firewood or even 8-foot wood for loggers. They used to cut the wood, go along, and then instead of taking that extra step, they would turn their saw around and make that cut. And of course, when they done that, the tip of the blade right here is your kickback zone. And if this portion of the blade touches wood, touches a rock, touches the ground, the saw automatically kicks
It's
back.
going to jump.
So what has happened to many people is it hit the ground and it's come back and hit them in the leg. And of course your femoral artery is next to your femur. And we've lost a number of people because of not taking that one step.
Obviously, then this safety course that you guys are doing, rolling out to the public, I know you've been, teaching some safety at some college level courses. You want as many people as possible that are using these machines to know how to do it properly and take this course.
Yes, we've been teaching people, like you said, natural resources students, companies that use these at their workplace, building supply companies that use chainsaws in their yards, even people just cutting their own firewood.
We don't have any provincial regulations right now that say in order to operate a chainsaw, you must have this course done, got to have this certification?
No, but as things are moving forward, there's more and more things that's being legislated, so...
Is that something the forest industry are looking at?
It's something that is being considered, but as time goes on, we'll see what happens.
See what happens. Okay, well, listen, we've got you out here talking about this. Of course, what's talk if we don't have a demonstration? So I definitely want to see you using this. But before we do that, in terms of safety, I know you guys have got your big symposium going on next week in Gander. You want to tell me a little bit about what's going on with that?
Yes, we're having our 4th annual Health and Safety Conference in Gander at the Albatross Hotel on the 23rd of April. It's open to anybody who wants to attend. Registration is free, and there's a free lunch provided. Anybody, whether it's companies or just a regular Joe that's out cutting his own firewood, if you want to attend, please feel free. The more the merrier.
All right, Dion, it's important information. Thanks for sharing this with me.
Thank you.
All right.
Right now I'm clearing away the branches from the tree so I can have easy access to get into the tree to cut our notch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in underneath the tree. I'm going to cut the tree using a notch. Now we leave a hinge of about 10% of the tree, and that helps keep the tree fall in the direction that we want it to fall. Most chainsaws, you'll either see a line here. This one is pronounced in black. Some are just the same color of the body. This is considered a sight, same as on a rifle. So wherever I point this to and cut my notch, that's where my tree is going to go. And that's the way to notch a tree, and it fell right down where I wanted it to go.
And that's Dion Newman with a demonstration and a chat about chainsaw safety. He's with the Forestry Safety Association of Newfoundland and Labrador.